XXL is the breakers for all you aspiring rappers who need a little help getting on. This is the place to get all the info on how to make it in hip-hop from some of the biggest and most experienced names in the game, like me, your dope boy Troy Ave. Pay attention as special guests drop knowledge to help you become a star. This is XXL's The Break Podcast.
What's up? This is Vanessa Satin from XXL here for The Break 6th episode. The Break Podcast, where new artists come first. My partner in crime for this, Miranda Johnson, is not available this week, but she was part of putting this all together still, so she's still here in spirit. This week we switched it up. We were going to do what to spend your money on, but we changed the topic. We wanted to flip some things around, and our topic for today, or this episode, is networking. How to network, who to meet, all that kind of stuff, but how to kind of make more relationships. For this, we talked to a few different people. We talked to Jonny Shipes, CEO of Cinematic Music Group. He's had a few different freshmen under his belt over the years and worked with a lot of new artists, and including Joey Badass, Big Crit. He's also worked with Nipsey, Mick Jenkins, and the list goes on, and I'm sure he'll be mad I didn't remember everybody right now. The next one is we went back to Wale. We had a really good interview with him when we spoke to him the first time a couple episodes ago. So we have him discussing networking a bit for us. And then we got with the lovely DeJ Loaf, based out of Detroit, XXL freshman from last year. And she kind of shares how she made all the relationships that she's had and the different guest appearances and all that since she got in the industry. So first, we're going to kick off with Jonny Shipes, start with management and go from there. So here's Jonny Shipes.
Jonny Shipes, founder of Cinematic Music Group and the Smoker Club, smoking and joking always. And what I do is help dope artists reach their potential as best I can.
All right. We've worked with you on quite a few freshman covers, haven't we?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have 3 freshmen on the cover. Shout out to XXL for making that happen.
All right, so, we have a good relationship. I know that, I just had lunch with somebody of your relationship. What we're talking to you about is relationships and networking in the industry and how valuable that is. And wanted to ask you, when you get a new artist, you have different artists underneath your belt. You've got Joey and Crit and Herb, and you're working with Cameron, and you can fill us on anything else. But how do you tell a newer artist, how do you introduce them to people? How do you tell them about who to take seriously, who to not,
right.
All that kind of stuff?
All right, let's use Mick Jenkins as an example since we need him on your radar for next year.
Go for it.
Okay? So, with Mick or Joey or anybody, Herb, relationships, and it's a very cliche thing, but, you try not to burn any bridges because you just never know who you're going to need in what situation. And I'm not a user at all. I think you actually know that we have a genuine friendship. When an artist of mine that I feel might make a cover or deserve something doesn't get it, it's never like a attack XXL thing. And that's not even based on just I need to cover next year, this, that, or the third. It's based on a relationship. You try to build a relationship with somebody that you can actually, and this is just for me, just because I'm a little more picky with my relationships. I try to just build relationships with people that I know are real individuals and can keep it 100 with me the same way I can with them. It's very important. There's a handful of people like that, you know what I mean, that have helped me definitely throughout the years pick the support for my artists, and that goes a long way. And then I feel as though I'm forever grateful to them in return if they ever needed something from me. As you know what I mean, you get it pretty quickly, whether it's Joey or this, that, or the third. So one hand washes the other, and then ideally, just because the industry is full of such pieces of shit, you try to find people you actually really like and fucking are going to just always keep it honest with you and just have a great relationship. I hope I answered that right, but that's...
You answered it perfectly. This is all about how you do it. So with the... I think something that happens in my experience, you speak on it, is that you come into the industry and people that you start out with, not all of them, but a lot of them move up the chain with you. And probably the same with rappers, if they come in and they're new artists at the same level and they work up at the same time together. Is that something that you've experienced a lot where, you know, when you're in the game and then now look later and that person
it's so crazy because I'm in LA right now and I was just talking to Ali about this and Rance from 1500. So I'm out here, you know, and obviously Nipsey was one of the first artists I was able to, like, help and work with and put on the map. And through that, you know, I met, you know, 1500, that whole squad. I met Mixed by Ali because, you know, early on when I was, like, you know, working with the TDE guys a little bit. And we all kind of came from the same place. Even Wiz, you know, Wiz and Crit split the first tour bus for I forget what the name of the tour was, but when Wiz brought Crit on his support. So them to the Mac Millers, like, who were, like, you know, would come to New York City and sometimes he'd crash on my couch with Quentin, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool. And I was saying this just the other day to both Ali and fucking Rance from 1500 is like, damn, we've all come a long way because Ali got his own studio now. He's one of the best mix engineers in the entire game. You know, Rance and 1500 have a fucking 10 studio facility out in Cali when they started in one room with James Fauntleroy. You know, I was talking to James yesterday, too, just, like, saying, like, damn, 5 years ago you were on my roof in the city. We were just chilling, having barbecue. You hadn't even written those records yet. You know what I mean? So it's like, It's cool. I personally, one of the things I love most about the entire experience is now seeing, like, some friends that are my age, Brocky Marciano, who you probably know, you know, he's like does a lot of manager production, him, Ali, just seeing people, like, you know, at their almost peak, just like I'm almost at my, like, you know, hopefully I'll peak for a long time and everybody will, but, like, it's cool because we all came from zero and, like, I remember the broke studio sessions with all of those people, you know, so it's cool. I actually really enjoy that. It was interesting that you asked that question because it just happened to me out here in Cali.
Well, I think it happens a lot. The industry, I mean, it's a big comparison. It's very much like high school, you know? I mean, it's the popular people in the industry, the ones that you want to go with, the cheerleader squad or whatever, or the football team, and then there's the ones that are on the side, and they're, I guess, the smokers are on the side, you know? It's very high school because it's a very small community.
Is. I wish I remembered the exact quote, but in Hometown Hero, he's like hip-hop's a high school and life's the hallway, like what class you in, the Beamer or the Benz. Like, you got to go back and listen to Hometown Hero. He sums it up perfectly, you know what I mean? And it just, I agree with you, it is like high school, you know what I mean? You got the fucking weirdos over there, you got the V's over here, you got me, the potheads over here. Me and Burger and Tizza and everybody are chief. And Vanessa's in our squad, you know.
All right,
Vanessa's
so now
in the Smoker Club.
I'm in the Smoker Club. You're a new artist, right? So one of your artists wants to work with another artist. How do they go about, how would you recommend doing that? You're a new artist, you know, and it's somebody you don't know but you like them and you're interested in collaborating. This is networking.
So
how would you tell a Joey to do that? How would you tell a Mick Jenkins to do that, you know? Maybe Joey's not the best example because he's been around a little bit more, but still, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, so I find that managers tend to get in the way a lot. I'm the type of manager that brings every opportunity to the artist and lets them flush it out and lets them be an artist. There's managers that don't do that, whether it's for selfish reasons, they don't want to help out another manager, another artist. Maybe they don't even just aren't capable of delivering the message. So I always tell artists to go artist to artist. And then if you're having, like, if he doesn't hit you back because it might be an Instagram DM or a Twitter DM, then I'll reach out to the manager or try to get the artist number direct and just link the artist. Because for the most part, you know, I'm cool with most of the artists out here. So it's like, if they can't get to them, I'll at least make the introduction. And then I think it's really important to have them organically do whatever they do together, whether it's just vibe and admire each other's work or do a record. You know what I mean? Like, Joey's been talking to Drake and J. Cole and Kendrick for a year about doing a record. It still hasn't come about. When it comes about, I'm sure it'll be super special, you know? Like, nobody has, like, hard feelings or, like, takes it like, oh, they didn't hit back. Like, we know how busy Joey's schedule is, so you can only imagine how busy the next person's schedule is, you know?
Right. And how much do you think artists hold on to relationships and take advantage of the people they meet, or do you think that a lot of times you have to say, hey, you're working in the same circle, you're not meeting enough new people, you should try going here, maybe spend some time in Atlanta, maybe get out of your city?
I think because, and that's another good question, because I'm still like learning how to play this game exactly, and I would have told an artist a few years ago, like, nah, don't reach out. Once you're hot enough, they're going to come to you, and that's what happened to Crit, and that's what happened to Nipsey, and even with Joey, but it was only to a point. You know, it's not like the XYZ artist came calling. It was a certain level of artist. So, like, now my view has changed a bit, and it's, like, more like, all right, let's make those set lists of who you really want to work with, and, like, along with your buzz building, you know, let's try to go get XYZ people to lock in and work with you, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And you just try to find a happy balance.
Right. And do you go about it the same way for yourself as the manager? Would the manager function differently than the artist, or is it the same for everyone, do you think?
What do you mean, like?
How you will go about reaching out to people and keeping relationships versus how much the star and the ego.
I try to keep as many relationships as I can, as long as you don't disrespect me. Like, there's, you know, I'm fully down to work with whoever, you know. I just love music. I just want to make really good music. I don't want to block any artist's creative vision. So I keep it smooth with as many people as I can. And, you know, if an artist wants this artist, hopefully I have a good relationship with that manager based on me keeping, you know, good relationships with people.
Right.
Did I answer that right? Was that the question?
Everything you're answering is right, because there is no right or wrong. It's your answer.
Right. I just don't know.
It's all good. It's all good. Nobody's going to say you're too high when you answer, you know?
All right.
All right, so networking, you know, and which is, we try to say to a lot of new artists that we meet how important it is to get familiar with things that they don't know, you know, styles of music that they're not so familiar with, you know, experts in the industry who they might not think are the biggest thing, but they're just not that familiar with it. How much do you find yourself explaining to new artists who they should and shouldn't know? And
a good billion every time. That's our job. If we didn't do that, that's like a fuck up. You know, looking at the festival, seeing who Joey or Mick Jenkins or or Herb is going to be with that weekend, and then trying to reach out to them is huge for us. Like, I can't really mention who Joey's working with for the new album yet, but it's like, you know, it's a very eclectic mix. And a lot of the relationships are born off of, hey, we're going to be at the same festival. Can we make it to blah, blah, blah? And then, you know, we do it. So.
All right, so Shipes talked for a while. I thought it was pretty interesting. I always love any analogy when it makes it sound like hip-hop and high school are similar. That's one thing we went over, because there's always those analogies of hip-hop and wrestling, but hip-hop and high school go very well, too, together as also. Another thing I thought that was interesting that Shipes was talking about was when you have relationships, you have to figure out how to look out for each other. So say, for instance, you have a relationship, you're an artist, you have a relationship with another artist. You want to, by looking out for each other, you kind of prove that you had a bit of a relationship with each other. You know, you kind of prove that it's beyond more than just associate. Maybe that's how you make friendships. But looking out for each other is a way to kind of build up those relationships once you kind of initially establish them. Making relationships, he said, also it was important to be familiar with who you're trying to make relationships with or who you should know. So, you know, as an artist, when you walk into a room, you know, you should know everybody in that room or everyone that you're supposed to know, whether they're the celebrity or not, because you never know whose face you might not recognize might hold a lot of weight. So it's very important to be able to walk into a room and know who you're supposed to talk to and who you should know in advance. And one of the other things Jonny pointed out with that was that also if you're going to an event, if you know that you're going to be at Coachella, if you know that you're going to be at a tour or a show, know who the lineup is in advance or who you might cross paths with before you get there. So you're familiar with them or you have something to talk to them about. You know, or you've kind of planned something in advance. You can even reach out, you know, to say, hey, you're going to be in town here. I'm going to be in town here. You know, maybe we should try and network and see if we can do something at the same time. That's not always for the bigger artists. That could be for the smaller artists where you say, hey, you know, we're both going to be at this, you know, hometown city event. You know, maybe we could put something together or at least try to network when you're there together. Also, a big thing he said was networking wasn't just for the artist, it was for the team. So, your manager networking, your road manager, your publicist, all of their connections have value, and it's important to understand that they're bringing things to the table. It's not just on you to make relationships, although it always is important, but it's not just you. So I think Johnny offered a lot there about networking. I mean, of course, nobody can really tell you how to actually meet somebody, but pointing out who the important people to know are always, I think, a necessity, and I think that's what we got from Johnny. So moving over to Wale, who definitely, likes to talk and keep in touch with people, as we see on social networking and all that. We talked to Wale about networking and about, his relationships through Maybach, his relationships with other artists that he knows. So let's take a listen to what Wale has to say.
All right, what's the importance of networking? You're a new artist, you're meeting new people. How important do you think it is developing those relationships, not for kind of waiting for people to come and meet you, but you going out there and putting yourself out there and getting to meet people? How important is that?
Networking is almost kind of a lost art, and it might be a little bit overrated. Maybe. It depends on how you do it, because some people think networking is fucking adding the favorite artist over and over with a damn link, man. Like, that's the last place we're going to check for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I say networking might be a little bit overrated because, like, nowadays, like, for the real deals, they going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? It's SoundCloud out there. Like, things happen organically. They grow. If they had SoundCloud when I was coming up, god damn, man, I probably would have got triple what I got in my deal.
Right.
Because, like, people sharing music and sharing new artists and this, that, and the third. So it's like, they really come to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, networking is more so about your team. Like, all right, who's going to do my visual stuff? Who's going to be like my day to day when I get on? Like, you still want people around you. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of family that I raised or that raised me that are around me. You know what I'm saying? There's always at least somebody, one cousin at least within 10 feet of me at all times.
Right.
So I don't think networking is like you ain't going run up to like Vanessa Stat and go be like, let me hear my music. Like, you gotta be lucky. You gotta be a lucky nigga for, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it need to go, Vanessa's at her desk and somebody's like, yo, have you heard such and such from Chicago? Oh shit, he dope. Now you hear it. Like, it's
right.
The motherfuckers think they could just bump into us in the street and be like, listen to it. Like, what? Like, nah. Like, oh, let me spit for you. Like, no, that's gonna make both of us uncomfortable. So no. I don't want to hear you spit for me. But I'm sure I admire that your passion for this shit. Like, but I wouldn't sign nobody who spit for me in public. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's I'm not that type of person. Like, I like to sit there and close my eyes, listen to music, and like all that motherfucking, like, to me, like that networking, go in this place, let's go here and let's go meet up with people. Not to get on, maybe for your music, for your beats, to build your own team. That, yes, but not for, like, I'm gonna go here to the source. I'm gonna go to WXL. I'm gonna go to Bow. I'm gonna go to this podcast and network and wait outside and network. Nah. And I think
is joining a team, is joining part of Maybach or being part of a crew when you're a new artist, does that help you with the networking? Because being part of a crew, you already have now built-in relationships and you have affiliates.
Yeah, but a lot of times their relationship is their relationship. And nowadays hip hop, like, their relationship is their relationship.
Right.
And, like, I remember one time, like, I wanted to work when I first got with Maybach. Like, Lil Wayne is one of my favorite rappers, and I wanted to work with him. So I was like, I kind of was like, Ross, can you help set this up? And he was like, man, you gotta show Wayne that you, like, that you worked at some shit he said. What he said to me was like, you not ready yet, or something like that.
Right.
But more so, like, basically, that's not what this is. Like, I'm not about to just sit here and get you features all day. Like, and that's when I very, very first got there, started working on my album. You know what I'm saying? So, and I learned early, like, his relationships is his relationships.
Right.
It's a different conversation now. It's a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? But, like, just being in a crew don't mean it's all good. Like, I'm on Atlantic Records. I don't see no damn Wale Bruno Mars song.
Right. Right. So the networking's on you to do. It's on you to develop those relationships for collaborations, for guest appearances, and how valuable is it? You're X amount of years into your career. How well did you develop those relationships, do you think, early on that sustained through the year?
Well, I mean, like, my thing is, like, I was so raw. Like I wasn't just a young kid. I was a kid that, I have no guidance. Like, you took me right out of doing go-go's in the sweatiest,
right,
most ghetto hallways in D.C. to going on a world tour with Mark Ronson. And, like, now I'm, like, fucking with Billy Allen and Amy Winehouse and fucking Sam Sparrow and all these motherfuckers. Like, I'm just seeing. But I didn't know, like, if I was in that shit now, yo, I would have so much, like, it'd be, my shit would be so different.
Right.
But I'm not with Mark Ronson no more. He ain't called me for tour no more. He's doing something else with his life, career. You know what I'm saying? But, like my early relationships, like, they've all kind of changed over time, like, just through natural selection of how the goes. Like, I met Ross at KOD. You know what I'm saying? He saw me just walking around that shit by myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like why is this little nigga walking around by himself in this joint? Like,
Right.
And that caught his attention. And
that caught his attention, exactly right.
That caught, and we kept our relationship, and then, you know, he had found out that I love Interscope, and then he was like, boom, do it. You know, I mean, like, but that's not to say, like now, like I learned so much from him and Diddy and Jay and everybody I've been around. Like, I would love to be like, to do that world tour shit with Mark Ronson again, because I learned so much. Like, I fucking learned. Like, I learned who to take with me. I learned what studios to go to, what to do on my off days, and, you know, who to keep in contact with in the States for press and all of that shit. Like, you know, all that, you know, I say that to say this shit fluctuates, be like, it's crazy. Like, the people that find you, look at Birdman and Wayne, man. Like, you never thought they would fall out. You never thought they would fall out.
No, that one's heartbreaking to me. That one gets me, you know?
Crazy.
I mean, you didn't, and you don't know if that's the depth of Cash Money. I mean, Cash Money's the one that's prevailed for this long. So, you know, the breakup of Baby and Wayne is, you know, not just the breakup of Baby and Wayne, but what happens with Cash Money, what happens with all of it, you know? That's been such a staple in hip-hop that it really is, that's the heartbreaking one, you know?
That's crazy. That's like a fucking movie. Like, they're gonna have to do a movie on that joint. That's crazy. And I think we're so spoiled, and like what we were talking about earlier, shit is happening so fast that you're not even really realizing the monumentalness of that situation. Like, and their contribution. People be really sleeping on Wayne's contribution to hip hop.
Oh, definitely.
Really?
They just think Carter 5 didn't come out and everybody's moved on, but we're not forgetting how much he's done in how many years.
It's nuts. And in the face of, like, you got to remember, this is during Jay-Z's run, my nigga. Like, he was still putting up numbers, crazy numbers. And what fucking since Block is Hot, I came out when I was, like, in middle school or something. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He's like the Kobe Bryant of rap, yo.
And he'd probably like to hear that, right? The sports analogy.
20 years, bro. 20 years. And that nigga he's not even nowhere near as old as Ye and all them. He's still young. This nigga's just getting deals as Wayne 80.
Exactly. No, he's got a ways to go still. I mean, in that run.
It's just fucked up, though. It's just like, I don't want to speak too much on that situation because I don't really know, but it's just like the fact that it's not, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we're in a time, like I said, everything's happening so fast that some of these motherfuckers that's really, really young, they really probably don't even know. They probably know Wayne starting from every girl in the world, probably.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's fucked up. But it's like, all right, if you let's take everything away. Wayne brought y'all Drake. So how about that?
Yeah.
Contributions to rap music, like, he brought y'all the person that's probably going to catch Jay. Well, probably already goddamn caught him as far as, you know, I believe. So it's just like, you know, that shit got me thinking, like, damn, man, like, you know, all these relationships change, man. I just pray that I know the right people and my shit don't go sour with nobody.
Yeah. Anything else, any advice you want to give a new artist on networking or anything?
Well, my main thing is what I tell people all the time, man. Like, it's not really about walking up to no art. Like, that shit is like fairy tale. Like, it's about turning up your friends first. Then they start believing you. Then you say, man, get this shit to some other people. Then turn that up. Then you flip 10 fans to 20 fans, 20 to 40, 40 to 80, 80 to 160, 160 to 320, 320 to 640. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just keep doubling up your fans until you can fucking do like a SOBs or something like that. So you can do like a little U Street Music Hall in D.C. Or so you can do, you know what I'm saying? And, like, you got the biggest fucking, like, they got it so much easier now because of like this SoundCloud and like how fast, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a gift and a curse, but as far as getting the shit out quickly, boom. Videos, you don't need no Hype Williams no more. You can do some creative shit and get that shit, you know what I'm saying? Spend a little money, put that motherfucker on World Star or whatever, and then just keep it moving. You gonna double your people gonna hear it more so than standing outside the Def Jam offices and getting
Right, handing out, CDs.
Yeah. Oh, CD's over. CD's over.
CD, I definitely. Any channel I go to, and they hand me a CD, I say, "What? I don't have a CD player. Why
what is this? What is this weapon that you've
Right, what is this weapon? What is this thing I have to carry with all this
it looks bad familiar.
I know. I go there, I'm like, I don't own a CD player. I don't know what you want me to do, you know? You printed this up for no reason. Give me a thumb drive. At least I'm going to use it just to get your music, just to clear it off and use it myself, you know?
Okay, so Wale seems to think that networking is overrated. I'm not really sure if I totally agree with that, but I'm also not the artist, so what do I know? But he seems to think that networking is a little bit kind of, left to your team to do. And I guess that's depending on in what capacity you want to network. But definitely, as Jonny said, also Jonny Shipes said in the last interview, it's very much on your team to also network, not just you. So making a plan of who's going to reach out to who's responsible to kind of finding out what information, that's pretty crucial. Biggest thing I got away from Wale, besides all that interesting kind of little Wayne Cash Money stuff, was that you can't assume just because you have someone who has a relationship that you're automatically good with them. So if I'm an artist and I have a relationship with person A and A has a relationship with person B, it doesn't mean that I necessarily have a relationship with person B. I still have to establish my own one. I can't use, or you guys can't use, the person that you have a connection with already to kind of take you over to that next person. And I think we saw that with the story that Wale told about trying to early on work with Wayne and, realizing that he couldn't just get into the back door because he knew somebody. He had to develop that relationship with Wayne first for Wayne wanted to be recording with him. Or I guess, that's what we got out of that. So Wale, always a great talker, always a great interview, and I think he gave us some gems there. Next, we go over to DeJ Loaf. DeJ repping Detroit, freshman this year. We got a lady in the podcast. We've had a few, but it's always great to have their 2 cents on things. So DeJ, we got her while she was on the road, and we jumped right into the interview. So here is DeJ Loaf giving us a little insight on how she's made all of these relationships to have all those big guest appearances the past year.
Networking is definitely important in this business. A lot of things nowadays, don't run off of like what you know until you know sometimes. So I'm learning, I've always been like a sheltered person kind of like, so it's been pretty crazy since I started out just last year, like having to keep in contact with these people, and just making the right friends and, not the wrong ones in the industry,
How have you found that's the best way for you to do that? Is that in person? Is that communicating through social? Where do you think it's been easiest for you as a new artist to develop those relationships?
Social media is like the thing right now, so that of course, but I mean, you definitely have it where it's like the genuine, people, you usually have their number, so social media, regular phoning and just keeping in contact, back and forth.
How important is it to keep in contact with not just other rappers or artists, but also people in the industry that play other roles? Do you value them just as much? Do you feel like those are necessary relationships to establish?
Definitely. Those are, like I said, those are far more important because, me, myself, I want to get into other things outside of music. So, it's always good to just keep in contact with those type of people and, keep those relationships flowing.
And does that help with you with collaborations with songs? Do you think you develop more relationships before you actually record together or after you record together and you meet each other that way?
a lot of features I've done, like I've never really met the people like that, like met the artists, you know, like I've just done it over email and we chop it up. But that's just how the world is nowadays. Like you barely see people because everybody's busy, and it's like I sent you the record, and it's like y'all text all the time, but you probably never even ran into each other. But you know, for the most part, like I have a few that I've like, you know, got in with, and we have just relationships, and we're just cool.
Before you signed your deal, and before your song blew up, the first song blew up, how did you go about meeting people in the industry? What was the different tactics you took as a newer artist in Detroit coming up?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Before you signed your deal, how did you, and before more people were familiar with you, how did you get to know people? How did you build relationships in your hometown in Detroit? How did you get out there in the hip hop scene there and build? How did you meet people out there?
Yeah, I started out on the underground scene of Detroit, where it was like it was kind of like a family, you know, because everybody would perform, every artist would perform at the, you know, same events, and it was just like maybe a different event, but a different style of, you know, a show or something. So I started out on the underground, like I want to say like the hipster scene of Detroit, you know what I'm saying? Because I had a few guys that were on that scene, and they kind of brought me on and helped me do my first mixtape and everything. So I was kind of like in that area, but I was still known by the guys who wasn't, you know, on that scene of like Detroit, because Detroit has different scenes. You know, you have the trap rappers, you have the hipsters, you have the neo soul, like you have different, you know, artists in Detroit and different talents. So I kind of, you know, started out like in the hood, you know, I would say. And then like I said, I met my guys, and they brought me onto the hipster scene. So that kind of opened up a few doors for me, you know, just in Detroit period. Because although it was a small, you know, scene of Detroit, it was big to us, you know, because it was, you know, it was only us. So it was like a family, you know. And a lot of the guys and girls they still back there, you know, doing those shows and expanding it. So yeah, shout out to that scene of Detroit, you know. And I just, like I said, from that point I was networking with different people, you know. Once you know, they heard me on one song, everybody was like, yo, I want to feature, or it just opened up a few doors, you know, slowly but surely.
And what about getting your music and getting to know the DJs in your hometown? How beneficial was that, or was that a necessity? You know, what was the power of the DJs in your hometown? They used to play a bit more of a role than they do now, so I'm not sure, you know?
Yeah, like, I really wasn't getting radio play up until, like, I had a record before Try Me. It was called Where the Love At, or whatever, and the record was getting a few spins. You know, I had management behind me at this time, and, you know, I learned how important it was to go shake hands with the DJ and go chop it up and just kind of build those relationships also, because, like I said, it's not what you know or how good you are, it's who you know and if they want to play the record. Because, like I say, you know how those radios operate, you know. You know, they don't have to play you, you know what I'm saying? But unless you're just a bat scorching hot. So, you know, me being on the rise, like I just, you know, you got to go shake those hands and keep those relationships afloat.
And when you said what's important is who you know, did you know that from the start? Do you think you've learned that over the past year or so? Or do you think that's something you went in already familiar with, you know, just based off of how to do business?
I would say I already knew that. That's just a thing. Like, it's always been like that, whatever, not even just in music, but you can see it. And then definitely, like, I learned a lot, like, over this past year, like, it's not, you know, what you know, or, you know, it's definitely a game. It's all a game. It's like I don't know what kind of game it is, but it's like who knows who, or who's cool with who. You know, no matter how good you are, no matter how many songs they're playing on the radio, it's always going to be like a few people who like, nah, I don't want to play her, or it's, you know what I'm saying? So, and it's, you don't know why. You know, it's like, you know what I'm saying? You just never think of it like that.
We always make the analogy, it's kind of like high school, right? You know, with cliques and everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So have you ever had a situation where maybe you've met someone along the way, but you didn't understand exactly who they were until later, and maybe you didn't give them enough attention, or you didn't understand the weight that they held crossing paths with them, and then learned later that you had met that person and maybe didn't pay enough attention?
I think I'd done that a lot, because I mean I didn't know who a lot of people was, you know, when I first, like I said, stepped in the industry. You know, I've seen them from afar, but I'm not like a starstruck person. You know, I respect everybody. I don't get too starstruck or like fanned out, or like, I never really looked up to too many people. So it's like when I see people and I just kind of be like, how you doing? You know, I guess they expect you to just kind of like fan out and scream and cry or something like that. I don't know, but I just kind of be like, you know, I treat everybody the same. Like, I don't treat anybody different. I might have came off, you know, a certain way to a few people. I don't know. I never got told that, but I'm pretty sure. Like, I've always been told, like, I'm nonchalant about things, but I don't mean no harm from it. I'm just going to, like, that's just my personality.
But that's something then you then have to keep in mind sometimes, as they mention, that you don't, that if maybe you come off that way, you don't want to sometimes, so you cognizant of it then?
You said what?
Do you keep it in mind then if somebody might say something like that to you, then moving forward, do you think, okay, well, I might come off a certain way sometimes, so let me keep that in mind?
Definitely. It's all like a learning and growth process. Like, that's something that I challenge. I mean, I had, you know, struggles with as a kid, just being so quiet and, you know, nonchalant and just kind of, whatever, like that, you know what I'm saying? And it's not intentional. It's always like, because in the inside, I'm happy and I'm excited to be here, no matter where I'm at. Like, it's like, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? I just show it differently than you may show it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that kind of, you know, turns people like, yo, what's wrong with her? Is she okay? And it's like, yeah, I am. Like, once you get to know me, then you'll understand. But
right. So it's a perception without knowing you early on, and you got to keep that in mind. But then so do they.
Yeah, because these people, they will, like, remember that, you know, forever. And it's like, you know, first impressions are the best, you know. So I'm definitely learning, like, and, you know.
Any last-minute advice you could give, you know, any last advice you could give to any new artists about really networking and making relationships, whether it be the value of it, whether it be in their city or in the industry or just in general and what you've experienced?
I would say just do your part, you know, make great music or do just whatever you're into, just be great at what you do. And this industry, like I said, everybody is not your friend, so it's okay to be who you are. Like, it's all about energy, you know what I'm saying? If you don't feel that good energy from anybody you're around and you feel like you're not welcome or you're not wanted to be around, like, then it's okay to be you and you know, go from there and just take it like, you know, pretty much like how you want to, like, you know, like
it's what you put into it, right?
Yeah, like you get what you give, right?
Yeah.
So, pretty much like that. I would just say that, and like I say, you will know who to really network with and who kind of just to stay away from, you know, stay in your own lane. I would just say that, like, definitely though, like, first impressions are the best. So, you know, I don't like to be fake about things either. Like, that's the thing with a lot of people. Like, it's all a game. It's all a ha ha ha. You know.
Right.
Like, you
got to be in on the joke, right?
Yeah, you got to keep those smiles and just make people feel like you appreciate them. You know?
All right, so I like that Dej acknowledges she's still learning. I think that she's got a lot of, you know, phrases in there, you know, popular phrases, but that are important. You know, do your part. Always do your part in trying to make these relationships. It's not just on everybody else. You know, you can't be too cool for school. You have to make the effort yourself. You get what you give. That's, you know, we've heard that a lot, but it definitely resonates here. You get back what you give as far as communication, as far as making that effort to meet people. You know, one thing Wale had said earlier was that you know, if you're hot, people come to you, so you don't really have to network. But I think that we're still talking about the early stages of trying to get hot, you know, so there is that networking element of who do you meet and who do you know and who's valuable. And, you know, Des said how important it was that she get to know not only the people in her city in Detroit, but the different groups of music and type of people in her city. So, she went to the hipsters and she established a relationship over there. And, so getting to know different parts of your city is definitely, and different people who you normally wouldn't work with strengthens you. One thing DeJ did say, and I think this is me being old school and a pet peeve, but, when they're recording together, when you're recording, you don't necessarily make relationships. Back in the old day, rappers used to make songs in studios and they actually chilled together, and they still do, but not as much. DeJ said to us that a lot of the songs that she had been doing were based off of emailing back and forth and sending verses or texting with somebody, but not necessarily getting to know them. And I think that's an interesting to think about, is that you don't necessarily network maybe when you're actually collaborating with someone, because collaboration's done in such a digital capacity that, you might have to network in order to be able to get those relationships to create those songs, or you might not create those relationships till you perform the songs live or get to be with each other after. That's a old school disappointing thing, that we don't get you to hang out that much anymore in person and it's all emailed around, but it is kind of a part of modern technology. And, you guys get less of an aspect to be around each other musically, so you have to figure out how to make up for that. And I think it's something to keep in mind. So I think good episodes, heavy rapper on there with two of them this time. And Jonny Shipes dropping some information from all of his experience with different new artists. Next week, I guess next week. We are at the halfway mark. We have done 6 episodes. And we're going to take a break for the Christmas, New Year, and come back in the first week of January. So, I think there's some interesting information on these podcasts that might be worth listening to again, or maybe not, but maybe forwarding to a friend or your manager or somebody else who you're networking with. And when we come back in the top of the year, we'll go back to that topic of what to spend your money on. Still doing it, just want to make sure it was all together, and networking seemed to be something that was coming up a lot lately, and a lot of questions that we were getting. So once again, this is XXL's The Break Podcast, where new artists come first. Signing off. Hope you have a happy holiday, happy New Year, and are getting something out of this podcast, and we'll see you in 2016.